What's going on, everybody? Hey, welcome back. So today we're going to shoot exclusively on the Pocket 3. I have to say I'm extremely impressed with this camera. So impressed that I'm just trying to figure out what the limitations of this thing is. So this probably won't be the last video that I shoot exclusively on the Pocket 3. But I probably won't say much about it anymore. But today's video is all about this camera. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube lately. Now, the Pocket 3 is over a year old, right? If I'm not mistaken. Came out last year. Had no interest in this camera. But recently, I've started looking again at this camera. Like, obviously, the Pocket 3 has been out, or the Pocket lineup has been out for quite a while, because they've had the original Pocket, and then they had the Pocket 2, and now we're on the Pocket 3. I never had an interest in this camera. But here's to say this, I've never been interested in APS-C cameras either. So DJI has been on this campaign comparing this camera to basically an APS-C camera. They're so confident in this camera, which I'm starting to understand now that I own it. They're so confident in this camera that they compare it to a camera that has a larger sensor size, which I found very fascinating, which drew my attention. So, and I have to say, now that I have the camera, I'm impressed. I'm extremely impressed with the image quality. Everything that I've seen online comparing to the ZV-E10, the image quality is very comparable. It's so comparable that it's hard to really tell them apart. Now, being that you can pretty much, this is a 20 millimeter lens on this camera, you can tell based off of focal length most of the time that you're using the Pocket 3 versus a ZV-E10. You can tell them apart a little bit. And then you also can tell when your subject is backlit. For some reason, the Pocket 3 doesn't do very well when the subject is backlit. It doesn't really try to adjust for the face or the person in front of the camera. It just auto exposes for the background. So that's my only kind of gripe with this camera right now. Just the exposure for the person in front versus the background. But anyways, but that's it. Yeah, that's how I've typically been able to tell the difference, is those two things. So I've been impressed, extremely impressed with this camera. So impressed that if you were to literally ask me right now if I would choose this camera over an APS-C camera, the answer would be 100% yes. 100% yes. And I'm talking about like that ZV-E10. Would I choose this over a ZV-E10 Mark II? Yes, I would. That's because, and I'll have to say this, that's because I own like 5 Sony cameras already. So just take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I'm a person that already has 5 Sony cameras, and they're all full frame, and except one, I think. I have an FX3, A7S III, A7 IV, A7 III, and then I have the RX100 Mark VII, which is a 1-inch sensor. I would choose this camera over my RX100 Mark VII every day of the week. That's 8-bit color. This is 10-bit color. We'll get into the rest here in a few minutes. So I'm saying that to say that I don't have a bias. I'm saying I have a bias, but it's not towards DJI in any shape of the imagination. If you ask me if I would take this over a full frame, I would say absolutely not. You gotta be crazy. But again, for what I'm using it for, and what I want to do with it, vlogging and taking it on trips with me, with the family, because I live in California. As much people want to say that California is going downhill, in a lot of aspects, it kind of is. But you can't deny how beautiful this place is. And I live like 20 to 25 minutes away from the coast. So it's like we spend a lot of our weekends on the coast, and I want to start capturing that more. This camera will allow me to do that. But if you're looking for a camera, an APS-C camera, or if you're looking at APS-C cameras and 1-inch sensor cameras, and you're wanting something that has interchangeable lenses that can take really good photos and do video, okay, obviously this is not for you. This is a vloggers focused camera, in my opinion. Not really my opinion, that's basically what it is. So yeah, if you're looking for something that has interchangeable lenses that can shoot video and photo, yeah, this ain't the camera. Get the ZV-E10 or something comparable to that. Now, in my opinion, with the Pocket 3, there's 4 very distinctive things that set this apart from any camera under $1,000. And I mean, it sets it apart by a wide margin. Like, it's not even close. Again, my opinion. There's not a camera under $1,000 that I would choose over this Pocket 3. Again, for vlogging. I'm not talking about pictures or anything like that. I'm talking about simply for vlogging, okay? So, and here's the thing. If one of the 4 things is missing out of this camera that I'm about to talk about, I wouldn't buy this camera. I think all 4 of these things combined make this something that's really extremely hard to beat if you're wanting to shoot a family vlog or have a vlogging channel specifically, okay? So, and that's the main point of this video, is these 4 main reasons to buy this camera. Okay, so let's get right into it. Number 1 is the gimbal. The gimbal makes this freaking thing so amazing. It's super steady. It's always gonna look better than anything digital that you can get from a Sony or a Canon or Nikon. It doesn't really matter what the brand is. A physical gimbal will always have smoother shots. You will always be able to keep the angle wide. You don't have to punch in to actually help with stabilization. It's just fantastic. And not to mention, this is like the only camera under $1,000 that has a 3-axis gimbal on it. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this and why this thing is so important and why it's so amazing. Okay, so number 2 is the autofocus. The autofocus is actually really, really good. It's not the best in the world. It's not current Sony and current Canon autofocus. It's not on that level. But I would say if I had to give you a camera that it closely rivals or it's closely comparable to, it would have to be something like the A7 III. I feel like it has comparable autofocus to the A7 III. But then again, hey, you can have a difference of opinion. It doesn't really matter to me. But like I'm saying, from what I'm seeing, it's a pretty sticky autofocus. It might get tripped up once every blue moon. And that's kind of how the A7 III was. It was so damn good, but you could still trip it up every once in a blue moon. But if you had the autofocus on like a very fast focus, it was hard to miss. It would unfocus and focus. And that's kind of how like I look at this camera right here. Autofocus, really, really good. Okay, so number 3 is the active track. And I think the combination of active track, the autofocus, and the gimbal makes this camera a game changer. So with active track and the gimbal, you basically have a one-man camera crew here that will follow you around. So if I want to move, if I want to get up, look, it keeps me in frame. It will keep me in frame no matter where I go. And I don't have to worry about anything. I have to worry about telling a good story or showing you what I want you to see and walking around. That's it. That's all I have to worry about. So in my opinion, these 3 features set it apart from any camera you can buy. Again, under $1,000. That's the crazy thing. This thing is under $1,000. Even if you get the creator's kit, which comes with the DJI Mic 2, it's still under $1,000. Hell, it's still under $800. I think after taxes, it might be $700. But think about that. You're getting a one-man band camera that has a 3-axis gimbal that connects directly to a microphone. And that's number 4. Number 4 is the audio capabilities. And right now I'm using the Mic Mini. I don't need a receiver to receive the transmission from this at all. It connects directly to the Osmo Pocket 3 and it actually sounds really good. Period. Sounds good. Now, you can, there's 2 microphones that you can connect this thing to. Connect with this camera. It's the Mic Mini and the DJI Mic 2. Both great microphones. I like the sound out of both of them. I would probably say I like the sound out of this one a little bit more, but if you're wanting something that's more feature rich, then obviously the Mic 2 is where you want to be because you get higher bit rate. You get 32-bit float with that and internal recording. So you can be recording internally to the microphone on top of transmitting your signal to this camera all at the same time, which is fantastic. So like those are my 4 reasons why I say, listen, this camera really is unbeatable. So let's think about this for a second. If I wanted to get this capability in a camera, one, I would have to spend between, okay, let's say if you want to go on the cheaper side and get an RS3 gimbal, right? That's still a couple $100. That's still $300 to $400, right? I think I don't know what the price of that thing is right now, but I think it's like $260 or $300. If you want to bump up to the RS4, that's $500. If you want to get the RS4 Pro, that's like $800. And it really just depends on if you want the combo kit or not, because this camera made me realize how much I really miss having a gimbal. And so I actually purchased, like literally yesterday, I purchased the RS4 Pro because I want this type of, one, stability, and I want this type of control to where I can be a one-man band anywhere I go. So I'm just thinking about that aspect. This camera will probably save you so much money. Again, if you wanted to a freaking gimbal, it's going to cost you $300 or $400, if not $800 to $1,000, depending on what you want. And that's not including the camera. That's just for the gimbal. So now we're talking about a camera between, let's say, let's just be a little conservative, $1,500 to $6,000. And that's not including the lens. That can cost you anything from being conservative, $300 to $400, to over $2,000 to $3,000. And we're talking about mirrorless camera lenses, okay? So I'm just thinking and crunching the numbers. I'm like, wow, this camera is so damn good and so advanced and so such a leap above everything else out there. It literally could save you money. Think about that for a second. A camera body be costing you $1,500 to $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. Okay, a camera lens that's going to cost you anything from $300 to $400, depending on if it's a kit lens, and $3,000 to $4,000, depending on if you're getting like the top of the line branded lens, right? So it's in between that. Look at all the cost savings that you're saving yourself when you buy something like a Pocket 3. And again, this camera works if video is your thing and you're not focused on shooting photos, right? And vlogging is your thing. I don't understand how you buy something else outside of this. I have this thing on a monopod and it's handling everything. I bought a cheap $100 monopod. This is a ProMaster air support. I can't remember what it's called, but that's my 2 cents. I think this is a fantastic camera. This thing, one, is a game changer. 2, it's very comfortable to use. It doesn't look like a camera. A lot of times people aren't even going to realize what you're using. And that's the great thing about this camera. It doesn't look like a traditional camera. So with that, and all 4 things I just talked about, the gimbal, the autofocus, the active track, and the ability to freaking sit here and have a freaking microphone like this, to me, it's a no-brainer. And listen, I ain't getting paid by anybody. I just push products I know that are great. Okay? This is one of these cameras that can, if you're wanting to vlog and you're super uncomfortable, I feel like, hey, this is your motivation right here. Right here. Great footage, great image, great colors, features that you can't get anywhere else. It's amazing. Okay, I gotta go. It is 11:24 in the morning. I have to go pick up my son in 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.